Hey everybody, Panther 0822 here, trying, as I've got the room set up in a little different configuration, so, I'm doing a little bit of a live stream. This is, for those of you who don't know, I do a vlog every Tuesday. This is actually a lot later than I normally do them. I usually try and usually do them, way earlier. I usually try and have the vlog done by either stream or do the recording of the vlog at about 1, and usually try and have it uploaded by usually 3, 4 o'clock. That's usually when I have tried to have this stuff done. Um, but it looks like the stream is cut out. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and record. I'm going to kill the stream. I just wanted to jump online real quick, say hi, everybody's, let you know that I'm here. But from here, I'm actually just going to kill the stream and keep recording. So, all right. Well, now that it's just me and a camera, for the most part, actually I'm going to do something that I've been debating doing, and I honestly have. I just haven't done, mainly because I've been afraid about it. I've wanted to do some more research on it, or mainly because I know there's just a lot of stuff that's out there and whatnot, and a lot of this is personal interpretation, as is most things. So, oh, that's because I'm doing this the hard way. And you guys can't see what I'm doing, at least not yet. So, and that's actually a good thing. So I rearranged I rearranged the office that I'm in. So if you know, for those of you who may have been watching, the keyboard is now off of, well, it's off of my left shoulder. So in your case, off of your right shoulder, because everything's reversed because of the way the camera's facing and whatnot. So, anyways. And I moved it mainly because I was trying to rearrange some things and try and get some more space, which kind of worked. It kind of gave me more space and has worked a little bit better. So all right, I know I've got these individually. So let's see if I can find the individual pictures. Because if I can find the individual pictures, we'll just go over this one at a time. Because I would prefer to do this one at a time and not have you look at all three and get confused between the three of them. So for those of you who may or may not know, I am a huge sci-fi person. It doesn't matter if it's Star Trek, Star Wars, just anything sci-fi for the most part. Firefly to get kind of cool. Doctor Who. My wife and I are a bit of Whovians by quite a bit. All right. Oh, I went the wrong direction. All right. Well, I guess I will just do. Guess I'll just do this and fill this out to the screen. Although I wonder something. I am actually trying to find something specific here, so I apologize. I kind of decided to do this as I started the stream, so I apologize for not being as prepared, I guess. You know what? I guess I can do this. No, I don't want that. That's what I want. I want that right there. All right. And then let's come over here. Now, one of the things that I had talked about doing as far as my my vlogs go was actually starting to do each yeah, I don't need to worry about sound. Was basically kind of dedicating a basically like a week or like 3 weeks, gonna cover some things. So this is actually going to be the start of that a little bit. And this is just going to let my geek flag show just a lot, just to be honest. So for those of you who are not Star Wars fans, this may dull the heck out of you and things like that. So I'll give you the fair warning now. You may want to bow out now, would be my recommendation. So, alright, now before I send this over, let us think here. Actually, you know what? I think what we're gonna do, wrong direction, is we are going to come here. And we're going to come to this. And we're going to come to this. We're going to come to that. Okay. And then we are gonna do that, and hopefully that might be a little too quiet. So this is gonna be a bit of an experiment. Come to the screen stuff here. Nope, I should want that one right there, and then we're gonna do that right there. There we go. And send that over there. Alright, so here we go. Now, for those of you who know what this is, you'll recognize this. For those of you who don't know what this is, I'll go over it just really quickly. This is the Jedi Code of Conduct, basically what it is. These are basically kind of what the tenets of the Jedi basically follow. And I'm going to go over these, and I'm going to go over Like many things, this is basically my interpretation of this. So please understand, this is my interpretation coming from my perspective, and coming from my perspective as far as when it comes to religion and how philosophy intertwines with these different things and things like that. I'll also go over basically how I think this particular code basically led to the actual downfall of the Jedi, and why the Jedi actually inevitably fall to the dark side. Because I believe you cannot have light without dark. And unfortunately, the Jedi tend to lean more in the light overpowers the dark. As in, the light becomes so strong and so overpowering that it overcomes and it eliminates darkness. It's kind of the general. And again, this is philosophy speaking, so again, when it comes to philosophy, this is personal opinion and things like that, so please bear that in mind. If you disagree with it, you know what, that's your call. Put your thoughts in the comments below for me as far as what you think. I'm not entirely positive if there's actually been anybody who's actually sat down and actually gone over the Code of the Jedi and then the Code of the Sith, and then basically there's a third, more or less kind of in the middle, called the Grey Jedi, which is not a recognized affiliated basically class, as it were. It's more of a recognized affiliated group more than anything else. In a way, you could consider them kind of like a part of the Jedi, as you were. There are a couple of Jedis that stand out very quickly as far as great Jedis. There has been a gentleman, there's actually been a couple people on YouTube who've gone over their thoughts as far as who are great Jedi and why they're great Jedi. So, the main ones have been Qui-Gon is listed as a great Jedi, mainly due to his views, and towards how the Jedi relate into the Republic Army and their views and how they can get intertwined as far as things go. Ahsoka Tano is definitely a great Jedi, and she even states that she's not a Jedi, which is actually a pretty accurate statement, because she passed her final trial that would have granted her knighthood. However, she stepped away from the order at that point and said, "I've got to find things out on my own," because she had met one of her fellow Padawans actually betrayed her, so Ahsoka had basically stepped down she almost did a peace out type thing. And it's not that she didn't stop becoming a Jedi. It's not that she didn't stop training and developing her abilities, because as we watch in Star Wars Rebels, she very much does actually continue on the path as far as training her abilities go. But she does step away. She does not take the title of knighthood as far as that goes. Luke is a fantastic example as far as a great Jedi goes. Luke, basically, he almost rides the line in between light and dark. He focuses on the light, but he's not afraid to actually use some of the dark side powers, like Force Choke, which we see in Episode 6, where he walks in and he Force chokes the two dudes and they drop to the ground. So, please keep, to borrow a saying, as it were, take all this with a grain of salt, because it is personal opinion. It is not fact. This is my thoughts and my theories as far as this particular code goes. So please understand that. Alright. So, let's take a look at this. There is no light without the dark. Well, I didn't even realize that was there. So, hey, props to that. So, in the part of the Jedi Code, they at least recognize this. There is no light without dark. It's a good thing that they recognize this. And I went on a whole tangent without bothering to read that, so that was my own bad. So, hey, sorry about that. So let's go. So through passion, I gain focus. Now, this is true of a lot of things. When it comes to passion, you have to be passionate about what you do. So you have to show the passion in whatever you're training, whatever you're focusing on, and things like that. Like, I'm showing a passion in doing this YouTube thing. And I'm not just doing it on YouTube, I'm doing it on YouTube, I'm doing it on Twitch, and that is where my passion is. My passion is in this. Another one of my passions is teaching, training, and developing people, and part of what this kind of was going to allow me to do is kind of branch into that. So you have to be passionate about what you do. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at the next part. So the next one is through knowledge, I gain power. This is a very true statement, and it's true because the more you understand about something, the more knowledge you have about something, the more you understand it, the more you can control it, the more you can do things with it. So it's important to understand that knowledge does give you power. Okay, now there is a difference in between the Sith view on this and the Jedi view on this, and then there's a great Jedi view. So I will kind of share my conclusions as far as that goes once I've done all three. Alright. So, through serenity, I gain strength. Okay? Serenity is basically another way of saying peace. So, through peace, I gain strength. Serenity is kind of an interesting word to use in this particular statement. Let me actually see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can pull a source here. Yep. Sorry, I dropped something and I don't want to lose it because it's actually very, very important. Alright, so at this point I am pulling from Jedi Path, good book. Sadly, I've not read all of it, but I have read a good portion of it. Alright. Let's see here. We were on Serenity. Alright, so the way the Jedi Path has it listed is they have this listed in a different way. So through the Jedi Code, or through the Jedi Path book, there is no passion, there is serenity. Okay? So, a little bit different. So let's actually go over these from the way that the book has it. So the first one is, there is no emotion, there is peace. Okay? And this first one is actually a really solid example of why I personally believe this is part of the reason why the Jedi kind of hit a lot of issues as far as losing their students to the dark side and things like that, is because there is no emotion, there is peace. They're trying to basically say, take your feelings, stuff them down, ignore them, don't pay attention to them. And granted, that's a very drastic way of looking at it. But basically it's saying there's no emotion. So it's basically to look at something and basically in a logical point of view. So you remove the emotion out of the situation, you look at the cold facts, because facts are cold. And then from there, you gain peace. And it is actually, and honestly, in my life, I apply a lot of actually Vulcan style beliefs as far as, well, I should say Vulcan style, but I apply Vulcan thought processes in a lot of ways, because Vulcans are very logical. They look at the cold facts. They don't pay attention to the emotion. They remove the emotion. So that being said, this is actually a good way of looking at it in some ways, is just to reframe it, is that you're basically taking the emotion out of the situation. So if you're in a particular situation and you're getting emotion, stop for a minute, take the emotion out of it and just look at the fact. You may not agree with the person, however, by removing the emotion out of it, you are at least able to gain some peace, because you are able to at least look at the fact. You may not agree with them, but you at least can understand where they're coming from. Number 2, There is no ignorance, there is knowledge. That is the second tenet as far as the Jedi Code goes. This one has a little bit different. And it is kind of interesting because the way that the book has it, the way this has it, are there are little bit of differences. But this is a good reference. So there is no ignorance, there is knowledge. Okay? So through knowledge, I gain power. These two are a little bit different as far as the second one goes, because this is, again, through knowledge I gain power, which is a true statement. The more knowledge you have, the more power you have, the more you're able to affect the situation, because you have the knowledge to manipulate the situation or understand the situation. This one is saying there is no ignorance, there is knowledge. And what I would say about this is that you have to admit the possibility that there is ignorance, because you have to be able to understand that the person that you are talking to or yourself is ignorant of a particular situation. They are simply lacking information. They are running from an emotional state. They are responding based off of that. The other part of it is they may be reacting emotionally to a situation. So there is no ignorance, there is knowledge. In and of itself, it's on the surface, it kind of seems like a little bit of an arrogant statement. Because you're saying there is no ignorance, there's only knowledge. You have to admit the fact that there is ignorance out there, and part of that ignorance is your own ignorance, because you do not know enough about a particular situation, about a person, or about anything. And so a part of that is you have to go through it, and you actually have to go out and seek the knowledge in order to gain it. So I guess in one way, that's kind of what this is talking about. This states, the underneath too through the book, this is quoting that those who don't understand this basic precept are quick to fear, and fear is the path to the dark side. The archives represent and this is basically referring to the archives as far as the Jedi Council goes. So we can take a look at just the first part of that. Those who don't understand this basic precept are quick to fear. So this is more or less referring in a way to fear as far as what this is coming across. And I get where they're coming from as far as that goes. That's a little bit of what I'm talking about. But you have to understand, I should say you have to understand. Something that I would challenge you to understand is that you have to be able to understand that ignorance is real, and you can be the ignorant one in the situation because you do not have the knowledge in regards to the situation. So there is no passion, there is serenity. Okay, here's reality. We're human. We get very passionate about things. I get passionate about this, and I love sharing it, and that passion comes through. And for me to turn that passion off and to go, this is the force, this is how it goes, do this. Boring, okay? That passion is what helps me teach, it is what helps me train. Without that passion, I would not be able to actually do the things that I do. Because that passion, in a lot of ways, is what drives me. Now, when it adds in that there is serenity, is that you need to understand that, can I keep using that statement? You need to understand. No, you don't need to understand. There is no passion. There is serenity. When you can get to a point where you have passion for something, but you can communicate it in a calm, deliberate way where you can be serene about it, and you come across as just this honest, personable person, that is a much better state to be in. Let's see here. A subtle extrapolation of the first precept. This reminder to act dispassionately in every deliberation. Excuse me for a minute. I've got a humidifier going because I'm still getting over. I'm still getting over some things. So. You can kind of see the smoke a little bit. That trim this down, so it doesn't quite look like I'm puffing on some stuff in there. Just trim Alright. So it's talking about acting dispassionately. So that's actually, again, that's what I was talking about. Is that your serenity takes over the passion. You are no longer acting passionately about something. And I've seen this happen, and it's happened to me a few times, not as frequently as I probably care to admit or like, but the reality is, I'm still learning, and that's part of life. But I see it in a lot of the masters of the martial arts that I train in, is they have so much passion, but they have serenity in it. And that serenity comes across because they are so passionate and confident in it that you can just feel it off of them. And they're amazing people to be around because there's such an energy from them. You just want to be around them because they're so, in a lot of ways, charismatic without trying to be. Alright, let's go to the next one. Alright, so from the Jedi path, there is no chaos, there is harmony. And then this one is, through victory, I gain harmony. That one's actually moderately close to the Sith interpretation, or the Sith code, and I won't go over that in this one, but that's actually moderately close. Wow, Gabby's just upset about something. Give me a minute, guys. I need to try and figure out what's going on. I'll be right back. Alright guys, sorry about that. Our Pomeranian was being a bit vocal. Evidently there was a cat in the area, so. Alright, let's get back to it. Let's see here. There's no chaos. There is harmony. Let's read what it says first before I share my thoughts on this. Those who cannot see the threads uniting all life view existence as random and without purpose. The Jedi perceive the structure and will the many galaxies. The Jedi perceive the structure and will of the many galaxies. Okay. So basically, the Jedi, through the ability of feeling the Force, basically feel kind of the things that are going on, and they see the threads that attach things. And they don't see things as a random chance. They don't see it as chaos. they see the connecting threads and then react. They find the harmony within the situation. A really solid example of this is actually Phantom Menace. I know a lot of people that are not terribly fond of the Star Wars prequel movies. I honestly am among them. I personally think if you took Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith and put them together and left the second movie out altogether, it would have actually been just fine. I think the storytelling in the prequels, George Lucas, don't get me wrong, is a fantastic storyteller. It's far better than I am. But I think that there were things that were lacking, and I think the storytelling in the prequels was not as solid as it could have been. And so I think that's why they failed. I think they failed because it wasn't because of Jar Jar Binks or things like that. I moderately find Jar Jar Binks annoying, and personally and I think somebody else pointed out to me, I think Jar Jar Binks is a force sensitive because nobody has that much dumb luck. Let's just be honest. And George Lucas may not have wrote him as a force sensitive and things like that, but there's a possibility that he is. At least that's my thought process. Just because he has so much dumb luck that he's able to do things, his clumsiness works for him, which is kind of cool in its own way. I mean, when you look at his clumsiness works for him and whatnot, but this one, again, this one that's on the screen for you guys, through victory, I gain harmony. I can kind of see the correlation between it. It's a really rough correlation between the two. It really is. Jedis are not usually those who focus on victory. They're not usually trying to actually be. They're not usually the one picking the fight. Not normally, at least. Although I guess that depends on the particular sect as far as the Jedi Temple goes. As far as whether you're a Jedi Sentinel, a Guardian, or one of the others. As far as that goes. So, the one that's on screen is actually a lot closer to the way that Sith tend to view things. It's actually more of a great Jedi precept. Through victory, I gain harmony, which I can see that because in a particular situation, if you gain victory in a battle, you bring harmony to a situation. So I get it. You can bring victory through victory, and victory does not have to be a physical battle of two people in a lightsaber combat. It can be two people within a conversation, and they are having a disagreement, and by one, and I hate to put it in this term, but if one person wins that particular argument, it does tend to bring a little bit of harmony if it's done the right way. If that argument, if say myself and my wife are arguing about a particular situation, and one of us is being stubborn, and the other person brings up the point that actually shows the other person actually, okay, here's what's going on, here's how we can resolve this. The other person can go, oh, okay. So that's, and then through that, you bring the other person into harmony, and in that particular instance, through that victory, you bring harmony. So it's kind of I get it. It's kind of a stretch a little bit in this particular precept or in this particular phrasing, but I do get it. All right, and then the last one. There is no death. There is the Force. This one simply puts it out as there's only the Force. Now, something that we actually learn if you watch the Star Wars Clone Wars animated series, in the last, I want to say, season, where we end up learning, where Yoda ends up actually following up on something that Qui-Gon had actually discovered. We actually learn that the Jedi, if they actually give up attachment, if they actually go through this particular process, and they actually show you the process, you can basically give up your physical body and become more or less a Force goes, which is what, again, Obi-Wan achieved this, Yoda achieved this, and through, and Anakin achieved this at the end of Episode 6. Because Anakin at that point finally actually released out. His son was able to save him, and he was able to give up physical, basically, and was able to achieve a state. So we know through that it is possible for Jedi to become Force ghosts. Now, there have been a couple of people who have done in videos as far as whether Sith can become Force ghosts, and the overall conclusion is no. And I'll share my thoughts on that again when I go over the Jedi Code as far as that goes, because there's there's just some things as far as that goes. So that's what I wanted to go over today with you guys. Like I said, I was reading pretty much all of those through this. This is a fantastic book. I have read it. Sure, I haven't read all of it, but I have read a good portion of it. And I'm probably going to go back through and... Alright, there we go. Alright, and then I'm actually going to move this. I don't want to do that because I need to close. This over here, there we go. So those are my thoughts as far as that goes. I'm gonna do the Sith Code next week. So that'll be next Tuesday. And then I'll do the Gray Jedi Code, the third, so in 3 weeks, or 2 weeks actually, 2 weeks. So next week will be the Sith Code, the following week will be the Gray Jedi Code, and then somebody did a really cool comparison poster, and it actually shows all 3 of them. Excuse me. And so in 3 weeks, I'll do the Gray Jedi, and then depending on how long that one runs, what I will do is I'll do a comparison of all of them in that video, but I'll probably actually do a comparison of all 3 of them in 3 weeks. That way each code has its own individual day and things like that. So I'm going to try and get to a little bit more structured stuff like this because I don't want to be just rambling. I actually have a day specifically set, random Fridays, and days where I can turn on the camera and I just talk. My vlog Tuesdays are days I want to actually spend on specific stuff. I actually want to talk about very specific points, points about what are going on in the world, things that are going on just sci-fi-wise, of course, things that I really enjoy and want to share with you guys, and things like that. So, until the next time, I want to thank you guys very much. This is Panther, your YouTube. Peace out, guys.